Bob, we're all in the business of communicating to people, telling people what's going on, educating them. I'm in sales, matter of fact, and when I'm talking to a customer and they tell me no, I don't say NO, I don't hear NO, I hear KNOW. I haven't told you enough for you to say yes. And I think that's very common here in Marshfield. You look at all those special projects, you talk about the plaza, the park happening downtown, you look at 2nd Street and all these special projects, and the citizens have been saying, no, why do we keep doing this versus investing in our roads? There seems to be a huge communication gap that's taking place.
Yep.
And in the last cycle, in the last 2 years, the city said, hey, we're going to take a look at communications. And myself and Mike were on that committee. The mayor appointed a committee to look at communications. And the committee met. They met over a handful, dozen of times, talking about, how do we communicate with the public? Do we go door to door? Do we put up billboards? Do we put out ads? Whatever the story may be, we use Facebook. We get involved in the paper and script writing. And in November, when Ed Wagner presented it to council, he made the recommendation that there was a split vote, but that was in favor of hiring a communications manager, someone else in city government. The other half of the split vote said, no, let's better use our resources. So my question to you, someone that has been a citizen for the last number of years here in Marshfield and who has not been a part of government, how do you want your communication delivered to you? Do you want city to establish another position and use more dollars to help communicate that? Or do you want to see the city better use the current resources, get the department heads more involved, get the PEG channel more involved, and work closer to the media in this community to tell the story?
It's a great question. It's a fair question. We have to do something different, and it might mean bringing in a communications manager. And the reason being is, right now, it's not being done effectively enough. And that vote that you're talking about, that was a very contentious vote, if I remember correctly, because the committee got together and there was different recommendations that came out of the committee, and it turned into a bit of a fiasco there. And that's where I'm talking about. You got to have the right committee members that are involved in these things so they get it done right. But what we know for sure is right now, the way it's going, it's not working. The public, Marshfield puts on so many great events with the things in the park and so many great things. Many times you'll see a handful of people at these things. How is that not getting out? What do other cities do to make it better? We might already have the solution in place with the way it's currently working. Maybe that needs to be adjusted, but it starts with what do the citizens want? And they want better communications. So we'll have to get in and we're going to have to look at it. What we know right now is the way it is right now, it's not working. So we have to fix it, and I think the powers that be on all sides of this have to sit back and they have to think for a second. When I say it's not working, do they get offended? It's not meant to offend. That's the issue is, here's the problem. We need to fix it. I told you earlier, 100 years ago, when I was out of high school, I worked on an ambulance. And for 6 years, I was a paramedic. It was 6 fun years, and they were hard years. You have things that you have to work with. You have injuries that you have to work with. Right now in our city communication, there's an issue. We can't just blame it. We got to fix it so that everybody is aware of what is going on.
Yes. I understand that there was a dissenting decision, or a split vote, if you will, on that particular topic. But I think that as the city continues to grow, and it's not necessarily growing in numbers, but growing in influence, we have surrounding communities that are growing as well, and they utilize the city for a lot of events, a lot of the amenities and whatnot. And I think that we really need to have a person in place that can coordinate a lot of what's happening and get the word out to folks. Been here for a long time. Primary source of news for a very long time was the Marshfield News Herald. Now we have Hub City Times, but it was printed. Another large source of news has always been the radio. WDLB is a prime example. Not so much TV, because we don't have a significant on-air broadcast. We don't have a CBS or ABC station. So really, a lot of that, any TV has been through cable. But now we're in a digital age. We're in a time when things are moving much more quickly. We can't wait for that page to be printed and distributed. Things are moving very, very quickly. We had an incident that took place with a potential safety risk on the northwest part of town, and that information was out there very quickly. That's what's important. That's what people are looking for. They want that information now. They don't want to wait. And we need to have somebody that can oversee that can rejuvenate that communication so that information can get out there much more quickly. Marshfield Police Department has done a great job. They've got a couple of people that are uploading things to their Facebook page that inform citizenry, but at the same time bring in a lighter spirit so that they develop that interaction, they develop that communication. The city needs to expand that. The city really, as a city government, they need to do the same thing. They need to be interacting more in those types of venues, and I think the only way to do it is to have somebody who takes charge and fulfills that particular role.
That's an interesting question. At this time, I do not believe we should hire a communications coordinator because I don't believe that we've adequately looked at the resources that we already have available to us and that we've utilized every other possibility. When you hire another person in, there comes a big expense with that. It's not just their salary, it's their benefit package. And it, we're on a tight budget already. So I believe, do I think that maybe down the road that shouldn't be the thing that we do? Maybe we do eventually. But right now, we have other resources that we could be utilizing. One of the things that we could use that I don't understand why we don't use at this point is Facebook Live. I watch a lot of Facebook Live videos. They're obviously not our city council meetings because they're not on Facebook Live, but I think there's just things that we could use that we haven't used before, and we need to look at those before we decide we need to bring yet another employee into the city.